Hello, 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 hello. Hi, this is Splash Art Class, and I'm your art teacher, Charlie Newton. Glad to be back one more time. We've been working on color pencil drawings, and so we've been doing landscaping color pencils. We started off with a pencil. So let's go to the table to see what's going on. So at first we did a sketch using pencil, and we used only two pencils. And the reason for that is we're always trying to challenge ourselves in art class. You're not necessarily creating artwork, even though that could happen, but the aim is not to create artwork in class, but to practice with your techniques and to learn more about uh, your art form. So we started off with pencil, just doing the lights and darks. Then we went on and did a sketch using blue pencil, blue color pencil, and we started filling in colors. And I decided to keep the drawing aspect or properties vis-a-vis uh, strokes, the pencil strokes. So when you leave the strokes, the hatch marks, then it looks like a drawing. So let's begin where we left off. So we left off putting in some of the darker shadows, shading, with this dark green pencil. And the shadows are falling to the right-hand side. And I can allow the green in areas to overlap the yellow so that the yellow works as highlights. And we're going to go in with a darker color. I don't know if it's probably going to be a black for our purposes uh, to draw the darker shadows. So we're getting several shades of green here. We've already, as you can see, placed the light green, and the yellow is where the sun is hitting, the highlights. And we're thinking trees. So a lot of times I'll use circular strokes or motions to help get that feeling of foliage. This may be a little tree that's a little bit closer to you. We only hinted at the tree trunks and branches. So everywhere there's shadow, I'm going to place this dark green. And I'm going to remember to leave highlights at the top of the trees. So down here, I want the dark green as well. On the horizon line, there may be some grass or bushes that's growing here that leads to this grove of trees. So there are no highlights here because the sun is behind this outgrowth, or maybe it's tall grass and some small bushes. In order to not touch my paper, I'm going to put some tissue down. You could use paper, another sheet of paper, or tissue. I'm going to do the shading on these trees here. Leaving some of the lighter color for the highlights to show where the light is hitting. We are indicating detail. And if we do it well enough, the mind will read it as trees in the background or middle ground of this picture. I try to at least have 3 steps with all of my landscapes: a foreground, a middle ground, and a background. The middle ground is usually in the middle of the paper or the picture plane. And the foreground is usually at the bottom of the sheet of paper, the bottom of the picture plane. So I'm just setting the picture up. The strong contrast sort of finishes the picture. So I'm going to also put some of this green. I'm going to go with some different greens. Matter of fact, I may go with one of our lighter greens. Let's do an ochre. Go back with some of this ochre, and think there's ground that sort of shows through the grass, and I can make my strokes from left to right horizontal to indicate a plane, a field of grass. I'm going to put some ochre in here. I want some of these colors, the colors up here, to fall down into this little pond, if you will. So we're going to get this light green. And I'm going to use these horizontal strokes. I may go back in with some grass-like hatch marks with the darker color. But the sunlight is hitting this field. Yellow, hot colors. And so even though we're using pencils, and when you use pencil, younger students, you're so used to using crayons that you think in terms of coloring, but I want you to think in terms of drawing. And I'd rather you go in the direction of thinking as if you're painting than coloring. Matter of fact, we wanted to get that concept out of your mind that you're coloring a picture. Even if we decide to use crayons, I'd rather you think of it as drawing, but then painting. Drawing and painting. So now you begin to layer. So just having using one color to say, hey, one blue to say that's the sky, it's not going to work anymore. And this is going to make sense in a few minutes because we have time to really do some things with this picture. So I'm going to take this green here and go back, even though you can barely see it. So what makes your picture is not necessarily what the audience can see, but what the artist can see. Not necessarily what the viewer sees, but what do you see? And so no one would notice that I'm going back here with the green. I could put green up in the sky, and I might, but I'm trying to bring this picture together in a pleasing way. This is just my technique, one of my techniques. You can create your own. Remember, like we always say, this is not the way to do it, it's a way to do it. I'm actually drawing some of this green over the brown in the tree limbs, and what it does is it makes it a little bit darker. Now, I don't know, when I first started drawing this, I didn't have a plan, except for I did know that I would use a process or steps. 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, several steps, however steps I needed. I'm going to bring some of this dark green down here to be reflected in this little pond. Or maybe it rained and maybe it's not a pond, maybe it rained. And I'm going to bring the tree trunks down here into this. And it left a puddle, a huge puddle. I don't know what this is. I like the idea of it being a little pond. There's a place where we walk every day, and there's a little pond, and ducks will sometimes show up, and geese. You can hear frogs. This time of the year, you can hear the frogs. Midsummer cranes will show up. Also, there's a hawk that lives over there. We see all types of crustaceans, because there's also a little I don't know what you would call it. There's a pond in one area in the middle of the field, and then there's a ditch. For me, it's just fun to draw reflections. Now I want to find a brown, and I want a red. I may want a pink too. I'm going to take this pink, put it back here. Very lightly allowing the ochre to show through. Now I want to find a nice brown. Good to have as many different colors of pencils as possible. I'm going to show here using this dark brown. This may be where the dirt you can see the edge of the dirt here. It's a dark brown. Also, it gives it, it makes it, somehow this darkness makes the, this little pond or whatever it is, puddle, makes it look like it has some, it's deep. Now I'm going to put some brown marks for grass. Put some brown up here, a little brown up. Going to draw the shadows on the left side of the tree with brown. These are little details that you noticed and people may not notice, but it sort of lends to a little bit of realism in your painting or drawing. See, I called it painting. I'm going to go ahead and use some brown in the green here. This brown is a nice little mid-range before we go to black, so we don't have to go directly to black all the time. Brown has some red in it and some yellow and orange and blue. Brown's a combination of all those colors. So it adds a nice transition to the darkest darks. And some depth to your picture. I'm going to draw maybe some little young trees are beginning to grow. I'm using the point of my brown pencil. I'm glad that I didn't go ahead and finish this last time, because now I have time to show you how, just adding little details at a time, taking your time and creating. I'm taking the time to create. Sometimes when teaching, you don't have time to show what that creative process looks like. You don't have time to demonstrate it. A lot of time I don't. But now I think I have time to show. This is what I would do for my personal work. This is how I would approach it. And I'm going to begin to do more of that for history's sake. We want to preserve our history and our culture. And so by sharing some of my personal techniques, I think that may lend to that concept of preservation of history. So as you can see, that for me, and not just for me, but in general, art is more than just drawing what you see. Whenever you take the time, I keep hitting that camera with this elbow. Whenever you take the time to sit down and make something, you're making some type of statement about yourself, whether you mean to or not. And even art that claims to be aimless is not aimless. So it's really nice having a transition from the green to the darks. And this brown does that in a very pleasing way for me. I could have brought some blue down into the trees, and I could still do that, or some red. I want to lighten this area here. So I'm actually having to press hard with this green to lighten that area. So when we are doing abstract, before we started this picture, remember we did an abstract in color pencil? Before the abstract, we did the spaceman, the astronaut. But when doing abstracts, you have more opportunity to experiment with your medium. When I say medium, I mean the type of materials you're using. So my medium for this is color pencil. I could mix the mediums. I could use color pencil and ink, or color pencil and watercolor, or crayon, or regular pencil, inks. You can mix anything, acrylics. But when you experiment with your abstracts, you get a chance to play with the medium in a safe way that no one will really notice that much. And you can bring what you learn to your realistic drawings. You may decide you want to be an abstract artist, or you may decide you want to be a realistic artist, or you may decide to be a surrealist artist, which is more like dream-like pictures. Or you may not want to have a category. You don't want to be put in any kind of categories. And by you experimenting with many different ways of doing things, you gain a special way of expressing yourself. Now I want to go back with this green while I'm thinking about it. In the grass, I just wanted to do this darker green. Sometimes I'm going to do some strokes that might make you think about grass. Just move some of these pencils out of the way. I'm going to allow the bottom of the page to be more in shadow. Remember, we mentioned maybe you have just exited a dense forest or a grove of trees, and you come upon this scene. So if so, there may be some shadows directly in front of you. But what it's doing is bringing some of this darkness, dark shading down to the bottom of the picture for interest and balance. I'm always thinking about balance, even when I don't know I'm thinking about balance. And my idea of balance may be different than your idea, but for the sake of the class, we're just using some foundational thoughts on balance. But it really does need to feel right to you. See this red here? I'm going to bring it down here. Now, automatically, I know a few things. When I bring this burgundy or red down to the bottom of the page, the eye is going to pick it up. Maybe not notice it in an obvious way. And if the eye picks up that red and notice the bottom of the page, now the eye can look at the picture in steps. We're always talking about the eye because art is a visual language. don't want this field to get any darker, but it can get lighter. And put some pressure, using some pressure with this pencil now. Gonna sketch some leaves and some of these plants at the bottom of the page. Make some little grass marks, hatch marks to represent grass. Again, this is something that you're not going to notice. The average person won't notice these so much, but it adds a little bit of detail to the foreground. I'm using my dark green now. I'm going into areas that I think I might want to use some dark green to enhance those areas. Going over my sketch. And use some more hatch marks for grass. Just intermittently in different areas. I could do the whole field like this, but it's not necessary. And maybe it's this time of year and the flowers are just now coming out and the grass is just now blooming, the new grass. So you get these colors, and these springtime colors like yellow and blues. And purples and lavenders. I'm going to trace around some of the yellow so that you can see it with this blue. Maybe some hot pinks in some areas. So I'm going to put quite a bit of little details in this, using different colors, even blues. And I know I'm going to do something. I'm going to leave this pink here. That's going to be sort of, I like to take chances, but it's really good to show you how to take chances. I'm going back with the black now for the trees, because I could actually forget to do it, because I'm actually thinking about other things. I'm just drawing in the shadows, the parts that isn't getting as much light as the other elements or parts of the trees and grass. So I'm not just painting everything flat black. I'm leaving some colors in between here, see? You can still see green. So don't just paint but not coloring. So a lot of times when you think you're coloring, you're just filling in shapes, but we're drawing, we're not coloring. So we're not just filling in shapes. We're thinking about what might this look like to me in real life. I'm really thinking about the shape of these trees here, the circular shapes of the foliage. So I'm not just doing anything. I can make this look better or worse. It's hard to make it look better as it is. It's already difficult. So I'm trying to control what happens with these shapes, trying to control how we see these shapes. It's not easy to do. And a lot of times, and the reason why we practice, again, I always say, practice, practice, practice. You do get better. Everybody gets better. The more you do, the better you get. And that's for everybody, whether you are think that you're talented or not. It don't matter. Actually, most of the drawings we do here, anybody can do it if they work at it. So you see how I'm taking my time, even though I'm still drawing pretty fast. But I'm taking my time as well. And I'm thinking about this grove of trees. You might be able to see through this area a little bit. And some of the tree trunks will look black as well because no light is hitting them. So if I made some little marks like branches in black right now, that's going to work. Sometimes when you go walking, look at trees, look at the sky. Put that in your mind. You just observe to see what it looks like. And you see nature is beautiful. And you probably get a lot of pleasure out of just looking. But that will also help you when you go back into the studio or the classroom to draw or paint. So now I'm just going to go back over the picture because I believe the picture has revealed to me itself. And I'm going to go back and work in the sky as well. Now I could stop here, but I won't. But if you feel like you want to stop now, you should go ahead and stop. If you're brave, we're going to go work in the sky some more. Maybe I'll start with this blue. I'll try to bring the sky together. In other words, I want to blend. I'm trying my best to stay away from the white paper. I have white white color pencil, but I don't want to use it. So I'm using my light blue. I want to put some red in there, some pink. Bring some of this up into the sky. I'll do that now. So now it's a free for all. So I don't know if you remember me saying, but I approach realistic paintings the way I would an abstract, and I approach abstract drawings and paintings the way I would a realistic work of art. So I've given myself permission to put some pinks in these clouds, and maybe even some yellow. I want to figure out how I can, not just the clouds, but the sky too. How can I give it some punch? Let's make it more interesting. So I can bring some of these colors up into the sky maybe. And it may work and it may not work. Remember that. It's okay. But whether it works or not, I'll learn something, even if it's just learning what doesn't work. But see the yellows in the trees and all this yellow at the bottom of the page, why not have some yellow at the top somewhere? Just like you would in abstract painting. And of course, when I run the yellow over the blue, you're going to get some green. because yellow and blue make green, doesn't it? And this is a light I think I call it a lemon yellow. Or a decor yellow, lemon yellow. Yes, the yellow is really working for me. Make the sky a little bit more interesting, not blasé, blasé. Because after all, this is not a sky. It's a drawing. Going back down here with this light yellow. So now I'm trying to see the color before I place it down. Of course, I'm seeing it in my mind. So these are I'm finishing the drawing is what I'm doing. Going back with some purple, placing it in the sky. When you're finishing a piece, it's easy to do too much. I would rather do too much than not enough, because you can always, on the next one, dial it back, maybe. Or you can train yourself to dial things back down. But sometimes it's hard learning how to go forward. Put some more drawing marks in here. I even bring some of the marks down here. So what I'm doing now has to do with the way I approach, personally, the way I approach making art. You may do it differently. So I did all that so I can go back with this blue and really make this blue darker, at least up to this point here. And before I continue, I'm going to see if I have a lighter blue, because I would like to even go lighter. But if I don't, I may use white down in here. I don't think I have a lighter blue, so. So I want you to think about, whether you're drawing or painting, think about going through different stages of the art. This is my last stage. I've gone through several stages, as you can see. And what that is doing is it's teaching me a lot about the art as well. And now what I'm doing is, I'm not thinking about whether this looks like a sky or clouds. I'm thinking about drawing, period. Is this a, can I express myself using line and color in my own unique way? So by going through these different steps, I've gotten to the stage where I can do this. Now, if I had finished this last time, I wouldn't have been able to get to this stage. Now, a lot of times I won't do that. I won't go this far a lot of times, but I'm going to try to go further, because a lot of you have been with me for a year or more, and you're ready to do some different things, different ways to experiment more. And I like having my strokes go in the same direction. I would not have strokes go up and down like that. You know, for me, it'll make it more difficult for me. But by keeping my strokes in similar directions, for me, it makes it easier to understand. So I haven't used white, but I'm going to use white because I don't have a lighter blue. I could leave this the way it is, but we have a couple of minutes. We're going to finish a little early, Ayantha.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Okay.
An hour or under an hour is good.
I'll finish about 5 minutes early, I think. Now, this white, I've contemplated this white since I first started, because I know this part where the sky meets the earth is very important for me. Whether I'm painting or drawing, it don't matter.
50 minutes, 10 minutes according to this.
And I'm going to finish,
10 minutes early.
I know, but I'm going to finish in 5. I actually been keeping up with it this time.
Good.
I want to give a shout out to my wife, Ayantha Newton, producing and switching and being a visual storyteller for us today. And kids are used to having us both in class. It's good to have more than one artist in class so that you can get different opinions. Everybody sees things differently, and that is awesome. We don't have to all see things exactly the same way. If we did, one of us would be unnecessary. I wish our government could learn that, don't you? Or maybe I shouldn't say that. Well, that's okay. This is my show, so it don't matter. Now I'm going to do something really wild. Do y'all mind? Because I just saw something. I see 2 little purple marks here, these 2 lines, and this is what I want to do. So now I have to do some more marks like that. So now I'm just getting creative. We're just creating, having fun. What does it matter? You will not be graded on this. Just you being here, spending time with us, man, you get an A for that if we was going to grade you, just for you to be here and spend time. We're not judging you. That's why I say, I know you may not want to do this exactly the way I did it. You may want to start off doing it the way I did and say, nah, I don't even like the way that looked. I'm going to do it this way. It looks better if it looks like you, not like me. Your art should look unique. So I'm going over this whole thing with white, the blue background. So things begin to get smoothed out more. And if I just leave these two marks here and no other marks, then somebody said, hey, somebody messed up this picture. So I'm gonna put some more pink marks. And make it look like a sketch. We just sketched this, and somehow these marks came together. When we did this sketch, sometimes these lines all came together. See, that's the story I'm telling with this. These lines came together and gelled together and made a drawing. So this is more of a stylistic thing that I'm doing now. And what I'm going to do is put my name, my initials, CN for Charlie Newton. Wait, let's do this. I think this is a very important line right here. I would like for you to put your whole name and your age. We have some art shows coming up, so for Splash students, I will be contacting you in the near future to see where you are. So, within the next 2 weeks. That's it. I don't have a title for this. It's just a landscape in color pencils. And you can still see that it is drawing. I didn't want it to look like watercolor. I wanted it to look like color pencil. We even had a chance to make it unique to my style or my way of doing things or my way of seeing. And I want to encourage you to do the same thing to make your drawing unique to you. And, you know, whatever you do, you are exceptional, you are brilliant, you are unique. There's only one you, and nobody can do it like you. We only ask that you give it 100%. I know if you give 100%, you're going to keep getting better and better and better. Keep drawing, stay safe, and remember, until next time, art is for everyone. Bye-bye.